6 astronauts. One broken connection. Infinite darkness. What happens when humanity's greatest achievement becomes its most terrifying nightmare? When the silence of space swallows their voices and Earth becomes just a distant memory, survival takes on a whole new meaning. But are they truly alone in the void? Prepare to journey beyond the stars in this chilling tale of isolation, discovery, and the fight for survival. Subscribe now to experience the full story of mankind's darkest hour among the stars. The vastness of space had always been both a dream and a danger, but no one aboard the Odyssey could have predicted how quickly their mission would transform from triumph to terror. They were humanity's finest, handpicked for this unprecedented journey to explore the outer reaches of the solar system. Each member brought unique expertise, engineering brilliance, medical acumen, astrophysical knowledge, but none of it seemed adequate now as they drifted further away from everything familiar. It began with something small, almost imperceptible: static interference during routine communications with mission control. At first, it was dismissed as a minor glitch, an anomaly caused by solar radiation or equipment fatigue. But within hours, the signal degraded entirely, leaving them adrift in an ocean of silence. The realization hit hard: their lifeline to Earth was severed. Without guidance from home, panic threatened to consume them. Yet professionalism took over, forcing each astronaut to focus on immediate survival. Systems checks became obsessive rituals, every beep and hum scrutinized for signs of malfunction. The ship's AI assistant, designed to assist with navigation and diagnostics, offered cold reassurance that resources were sufficient for several months. This did little to ease their growing dread. Outside the reinforced windows stretched infinite blackness dotted with distant stars, indifferent witnesses to their plight. Time lost meaning. Days blurred into nights without the comforting rhythm of sunrise and sunset. As hope dwindled, so too did morale, replaced by gnawing uncertainty about what lay ahead and whether rescue would ever come. The Odyssey itself was a marvel of human engineering, built to withstand the harshest conditions imaginable. Its sleek design housed state-of-the-art technology, including redundant communication arrays meant to ensure constant contact with Earth. Yet even redundancy proved insufficient against whatever force had disrupted their connection. Engineers among the crew pored over schematics, running simulations and recalibrating systems, searching desperately for answers. Every hypothesis led only to more questions. Was it sabotage? A catastrophic failure of unknown origin? Or perhaps something far stranger, an external influence beyond comprehension? None dared voice such thoughts aloud, though suspicion lingered unspoken between them. Inside the cramped confines of the spacecraft, tension simmered beneath forced camaraderie. Meals were eaten in silence, punctuated only by the clinking of utensils against metal trays. Sleep came fitfully, interrupted by dreams of falling endlessly through empty voids. Personal quarters offered scant refuge. Walls seemed to close in, amplifying feelings of claustrophobia. Some found solace in staring out at the cosmos, finding strange comfort in its indifference. Others buried themselves in work, maintaining equipment or cataloging data collected during earlier stages of the mission. Each task served as a distraction, however fleeting, from the crushing weight of isolation. As days turned into weeks, physical symptoms of stress manifested. Fatigue settled like a second skin, eyes bloodshot from lack of proper rest. Tempers flared over trivial matters, a misplaced tool, a miscalculated equation, before subsiding just as quickly. Despite these challenges, bonds formed anew under pressure. Shared adversity forged connections stronger than any training exercise could replicate. Still, shadows loomed large in their minds, whispering doubts they struggled to ignore. How long could they endure this limbo before despair claimed them completely? It wasn't until the 7th week that they noticed the first anomaly. Sensors detected unusual energy fluctuations emanating from a nearby asteroid field, invisible to the naked eye but undeniable to their instruments. Curiosity mingled with caution as they debated whether to investigate. Resources were limited, fuel reserves dwindling faster than anticipated due to course corrections necessitated by their loss of navigation support. Yet staying idle felt equally perilous, a surrender to entropy and despair. After much deliberation, consensus emerged. Exploration might yield solutions, or at least provide temporary purpose amidst aimlessness. Approaching the asteroid belt required precision maneuvers, testing both ship systems and pilot skill. Navigating through jagged rocks tumbling chaotically demanded intense concentration, every decision potentially fatal if misjudged. Tension gripped the cockpit as screens displayed shifting trajectories, collision alarms blaring intermittently despite calculated evasive actions. Finally, they emerged into calmer territory, surrounding themselves with massive boulders suspended in silent orbit around nothingness. Here, amid desolate beauty, they discovered something unexpected, a derelict spacecraft embedded within one particularly large asteroid. Initial scans revealed structural damage consistent with age rather than impact, suggesting abandonment long ago. Ship logs remained intact, preserved within hardened storage units resistant to time and decay. Downloading the data proved painstakingly slow, requiring manual intervention to bypass incompatible formats. When finally decrypted, the contents shocked them profoundly. Logs spoke of another crew, marooned centuries earlier under eerily similar circumstances. Their fate remained unclear, final entries hinting at encounters with inexplicable phenomena before abruptly ending mid-sentence. The revelation sparked equal parts fascination and dread. Had history repeated itself, trapping them in an endless cycle of tragedy? Exploration of the ancient vessel yielded mixed results. While invaluable supplies supplemented their dwindling stockpiles, disturbing discoveries cast new shadows over their predicament. Personal effects left behind told stories of lives interrupted, photographs faded but recognizable, journals filled with scribbled notes detailing paranoia and hallucinations. Most unsettling were markings etched into bulkheads, symbols defying interpretation yet exuding malevolence. These artifacts hinted at psychological unraveling far worse than anything experienced thus far, raising fears of what awaited them should sanity slip away entirely. Back aboard the Odyssey, discussions grew heated. Should they abandon this cursed relic immediately, risking further depletion of resources while seeking safer havens elsewhere? Or remain longer, extracting every possible advantage despite ominous warnings scrawled across alien walls? Ultimately, pragmatism prevailed. Necessity outweighed superstition. Salvage operations continued methodically, extracting components compatible with their own systems. Repairs progressed steadily, breathing renewed life into faltering mechanisms. Hope flickered tentatively, fueled by tangible progress after weeks of stagnation. Yet unease persisted, manifesting subtly in altered behavior patterns. Routine tasks took longer to complete. Attention spans wavered unpredictably. Conversations grew sparse, punctuated by awkward silences where laughter once flourished. Even shared meals lacked former warmth, replaced by mechanical consumption devoid of enjoyment. Shadows lengthened perceptibly, not merely cast by dimmed lighting but born internally, reflecting creeping doubt corroding resolve. Despite outward appearances of normalcy, cracks widened imperceptibly beneath surface calm, threatening collapse should additional pressures arise unexpectedly. Just when stability seemed within reach, catastrophe struck without warning. A sudden surge overloaded critical systems, plunging the ship into darkness save for emergency illumination casting eerie glows throughout corridors. Alarms screamed incessantly until silenced manually, compounding chaos already rampant. Initial assessments indicated severe damage to power distribution networks, likely triggered by residual energy absorbed during proximity to the mysterious asteroid field. Restoration efforts commenced immediately, teams working tirelessly to restore functionality while grappling with mounting anxiety exacerbated by enforced confinement. Repairs proved arduous, requiring delicate manipulations inside cramped access panels teeming with exposed wiring prone to sparking violently. Burn-scarred hands raw, exhaustion compounded by lack of sleep induced by relentless noise pollution echoing relentlessly off metallic surfaces. Progress moved agonizingly slow, setbacks frequent and demoralizing. Morale plummeted precipitously, optimism evaporating like condensation on icy hull plates. Days stretched interminably, marked only by incremental advances barely noticeable amidst overwhelming adversity. Gradually order reasserted itself, albeit tenuously. Lights returned hesitantly, illuminating weary faces gaunt with strain. Life support stabilized sufficiently to permit relaxation of emergency protocols, allowing resumption of basic hygiene routines neglected during crisis management. Food rations resumed regular distribution, albeit diminished portions reflective of ongoing scarcity concerns. Though functional integrity improved marginally, underlying fragility remained glaringly apparent. Trust eroded slightly, reliance upon fallible machinery underscored vulnerability inherent in technological dependency. Bonds tested severely showed signs of fraying irreparably unless addressed proactively soon. The power failure had shaken the crew to their core, but it also forced them to confront vulnerabilities they had been suppressing. The realization that survival depended not just on physical resources but also on mental fortitude became undeniable. Each member of the Odyssey's crew began to process the trauma differently. Some threw themselves into work, others sought solace in quiet reflection, and a few turned inward, retreating from the group altogether. To combat the growing isolation, structured routines were implemented. Morning briefings became mandatory, ensuring everyone remained connected and informed. Recreational activities were scheduled, puzzle-solving sessions, storytelling evenings, and even makeshift exercise regimens using limited equipment aboard the ship. These efforts weren't perfect solutions, but they provided moments of normalcy amidst chaos. Laughter returned hesitantly, like a fragile bird testing its wings after a storm. Yet beneath this veneer of progress, cracks continued to form. The symbols etched into the derelict spacecraft haunted them during sleepless nights. Were these warnings? Messages? Or simply the ramblings of a crew driven mad by isolation? No one could say for sure, but the uncertainty gnawed at their resolve. Every shadow seemed darker, every creak of the ship louder. Paranoia crept in like an unwelcome guest, whispering doubts about trust and loyalty among the crew. As weeks stretched into months, the psychological toll became impossible to ignore. Small disagreements escalated quickly, fueled by exhaustion and fear. A misplaced tool or a miscalculated equation could spark arguments that simmered long after voices fell silent. The once cohesive team fractured under the weight of unspoken fears and buried resentments. One night, as the ship drifted through the endless void, an engineer named Rhea made a startling discovery. While reviewing data logs salvaged from the ancient vessel, she uncovered references to a phenomenon referred to only as the resonance. Descriptions were vague oscillations in energy fields, disturbances in perception, whispers without origin, but the implications were chilling. It seemed the previous crew had encountered something beyond human understanding, something that blurred the line between reality and hallucination. Rhea shared her findings cautiously, aware of how fragile morale had become. Some dismissed it as nonsense, clinging to logic as a shield against the unknown. Others grew visibly uneasy, their eyes darting toward corners of the room as if expecting unseen observers. Tensions rose further when sensors detected faint anomalies matching descriptions of the resonance. Low-frequency vibrations rippled through the ship, too subtle to be felt but undeniable on instruments. Sleep became elusive. Dreams twisted into surreal landscapes where time bent and faces morphed into grotesque parodies of familiarity. Despite mounting unease, practical concerns demanded attention. Fuel reserves dwindled dangerously low, forcing the crew to make difficult decisions. They calculated trajectories for nearby celestial bodies, searching for potential refueling opportunities or safe havens. One option stood out: a distant moon orbiting a gas giant, rich in helium-3 deposits. It was risky. The journey would deplete remaining fuel almost entirely, but staying put offered no guarantees either. Preparations for the voyage consumed their focus, providing temporary distraction from creeping dread. Systems were optimized, cargo rearranged to conserve energy, and contingency plans drawn up for every conceivable scenario. Yet as they prepared to leave the relative safety of their current position, strange occurrences intensified. Lights flickered erratically, consoles displayed garbled messages, and crew members reported hearing disembodied voices calling their names. Rational explanations failed to account for these phenomena, leaving only unsettling questions. On the day of departure, the atmosphere aboard the Odyssey was thick with tension. Everyone knew the stakes. Success meant survival, failure meant death. As engines roared to life, propelling them toward the distant moon, the vibrations grew stronger. For a moment, it felt as though the ship itself shuddered in protest, resisting the pull of destiny. Then, with a final surge of thrust, they broke free, hurtling into the unknown. The journey to the moon tested their limits in ways they hadn't anticipated. Equipment malfunctions plagued them relentlessly, requiring constant repairs under increasingly difficult conditions. Temperatures fluctuated wildly due to failing thermal regulators, forcing the crew to bundle in layers of insulation while working on critical systems. Exhaustion deepened, carving hollows under their eyes and slowing reflexes crucial for precision tasks. Amidst these challenges, the resonance grew more pronounced. Vibrations synchronized eerily with heartbeats, creating a disorienting rhythm that left them nauseated and disoriented. Hallucinations became commonplace, shadows moving independently, reflections behaving strangely, objects appearing out of place. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist, bending under the influence of forces they couldn't comprehend. By the time they reached the moon, paranoia had reached fever pitch. Trust eroded completely, replaced by suspicion and fear. Conversations devolved into terse exchanges, each word weighed for hidden meaning. Even simple gestures carried undertones of accusation. Despite this, they pressed forward, driven by desperation and the hope of salvation. Touchdown on the moon's surface brought mixed emotions. Relief at having survived the harrowing journey mingled with apprehension about what lay ahead. Initial scans revealed promising helium-3 deposits, but accessing them required venturing outside the ship. Suit integrity checks became rituals bordering on obsession, each seal inspected multiple times before stepping into the harsh environment. Surface operations proved grueling. Gravity was weaker than Earth's, making movement awkward and exhausting. Dust clung stubbornly to suits and equipment, interfering with delicate instruments. Progress was slow, frustration mounting with every setback. Yet amidst the struggle, something unexpected emerged, a sense of purpose. Working together toward a tangible goal reignited bonds strained by isolation and mistrust. But the moon held secrets of its own. Strange formations dotted the landscape, geometric patterns etched into rock faces resembling those found on the derelict spacecraft. Sensors picked up anomalous readings emanating from deep within craters, suggesting structures buried beneath layers of regolith. Curiosity warred with caution as debates raged over whether to investigate further. In the end, necessity won out. Fuel extraction relied on understanding the terrain fully. Descending into the crater felt like stepping into another world. Darkness enveloped them, broken only by helmet lights casting eerie shadows across jagged walls. Instruments behaved erratically, readings fluctuating wildly as they ventured deeper. Then, suddenly, they stumbled upon it. A massive structure embedded in the rock, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. The sight froze them in place, awe and terror warring within. This was no natural formation. It bore unmistakable signs of intelligent design. Patterns matched those seen earlier, confirming connections between disparate events shaping their ordeal. Questions flooded their minds. Who built this? Why here? And most importantly, what did it want? Exploration revealed intricate carvings covering every inch of exposed surface. Symbols pulsed faintly, responding to proximity as if alive. Recording devices malfunctioned, capturing fragmented images distorted beyond recognition. Attempts to communicate yielded no response, yet the sensation of being watched never wavered. Each step felt heavier, burdened by invisible weight pressing down relentlessly. Back aboard the Odyssey, analysis of collected data sparked heated discussions. Hypotheses ranged from alien artifacts to remnants of ancient civilizations predating humanity. Whatever the truth, consensus emerged. Interaction carried immense risk. Yet ignoring such a discovery seemed equally perilous, potentially squandering knowledge capable of altering mankind's future forever. Divisions formed, splitting the crew along ideological lines. Some advocated cautious study, prioritizing safety above all else. Others pushed for bold action, arguing hesitation equaled surrender. Arguments escalated, culminating in a shouting match that left tempers frayed and relationships irreparably damaged. Leadership faltered, authority undermined by dissent and distrust. In the midst of chaos, a breakthrough occurred. Embedded within recorded footage lay a sequence repeating consistently, a pattern suggesting language. Deciphering it required collaboration, forcing fractured factions to set aside differences temporarily. Slowly, painstakingly, meaning began to emerge. Words formed sentences, sentences conveyed intent. It wasn't a message of hostility, but warning, a plea to avoid awakening something slumbering within the structure. Understanding the warning came too late. During excavation efforts, seismic activity triggered collapse of surrounding rock, exposing previously hidden chambers. Within lay dormant machinery humming softly, pulsating with latent energy. Realization dawned horrifyingly clear. They had activated whatever mechanism lay dormant for millennia. Panic surged as systems aboard the Odyssey destabilized catastrophically. Lights dimmed, life support faltered, alarms blared incessantly. Outside, the landscape transformed dramatically. ground cracking open to reveal glowing veins spreading rapidly outward. Electromagnetic interference rendered communication impossible, severing any chance of escape. Trapped between collapsing environment and failing ship, options dwindled rapidly. Sacrifices became inevitable, choices agonizingly painful. Personal belongings were abandoned, non-essential equipment jettisoned to conserve power. Every decision weighed heavily, consequences dire should mistakes occur. The crew of the Odyssey found themselves suspended between two impossible choices: abandon the moon and risk leaving behind answers that could reshape humanity's understanding of existence, or stay and face whatever ancient force they had awakened. Time was no longer their ally. Every second spent deliberating brought them closer to catastrophic failure. Systems aboard the ship continued to degrade, life support operating on borrowed time as oxygen levels dwindled dangerously low. Outside, the glowing veins spreading across the lunar surface pulsed with increasing intensity, as if responding to their indecision. In a moment of clarity born from sheer desperation, one crew member proposed an audacious plan. Using salvaged materials from both the Odyssey and the derelict spacecraft, they would construct a makeshift interface capable of communicating directly with the alien structure. It was a long shot, perhaps even suicidal, but it represented their only chance at resolution. The decision galvanized the fractured team, uniting them once more under the shared goal of survival. Exhaustion was pushed aside, replaced by feverish determination as they worked tirelessly to assemble the device. The final hours stretched into eternity. Each movement felt deliberate, each action imbued with significance. As the interface came together, the atmosphere aboard the Odyssey shifted subtly. Fear still lingered, but it was tempered by resolve, a quiet acknowledgement that whatever happened next, they had done everything within their power to fight for their lives. When the device was finally complete, it resembled something out of science fiction, a chaotic amalgamation of wires, circuit boards, and crystalline fragments scavenged from the alien structure itself. Activating the interface triggered immediate feedback. Lights flickered violently, consoles sparked, and the hum of machinery grew deafening. Then, abruptly, silence fell, a profound stillness that seemed to stretch beyond mere absence of sound. For a fleeting moment, nothing happened. And then, communication began, not through words or images, but sensations. Emotions flooded their minds, overwhelming in their intensity. Curiosity, caution, sorrow, and something akin to regret. The entity within the structure was not malevolent. It was ancient, vast, and profoundly lonely. Through this connection, fragments of its history unfolded. It spoke of eons spent observing civilizations rise and fall, of attempts to reach out that were misinterpreted as threats, of self-imposed isolation to prevent further harm. Humanity's arrival had disrupted its slumber, rekindling dormant instincts to engage. But interaction carried risks for both parties. If left unchecked, the energy now coursing through the moon would destabilize entirely, destroying everything in its path. With guidance from the entity, the crew devised a solution. They would redirect the excess energy back into the structure, effectively sealing it off until technology advanced enough to enable safer interactions. Doing so required venturing deep into the heart of the alien mechanism, exposing themselves to lethal radiation levels. Volunteers stepped forward without hesitation, knowing full well the cost of their sacrifice. As the operation commenced, tears streamed down faces hidden beneath helmets. Those remaining behind watched monitors displaying vital signs that gradually flatlined, one by one. Yet amidst the grief, there was pride, a recognition that these acts of bravery ensured others might live to tell the tale. When the process concluded, the moon fell silent once more, its glow extinguished. Instruments aboard the Odyssey stabilized, systems rebooting as if awakening from a nightmare. The journey home was fraught with challenges, but the crew persevered, buoyed by the knowledge that they had stared into the abyss and emerged changed. Upon returning to Earth, their story became legend, a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and the unyielding desire to explore even when faced with the unknown. The data they brought back reshaped scientific paradigms, sparking debates about humanity's place in the cosmos. Yet some mysteries remained unsolved, questions unanswered. What truly lay within that alien structure? Would humanity ever be ready to confront such forces again? And so, the saga of the Odyssey serves as both a warning and an inspiration, a reminder that while the stars may call to us, the void holds secrets we cannot yet comprehend. Thank you for joining us on this interstellar journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling tales from the depths of space.